Hello, everybody. This is going to be my Marvel Snap Pool 1 beginner tier list. Mainly making this because I was watching some stuff and I feel like the state of the game has changed a lot since anybody's really made a tier list for Pool 1. So I played, I'm a beginner. I went ahead and played through. I got to Infinite with just Pool 1, just with the beginner stuff. So I kind of have an idea of the strength and I have maybe some different opinions than some of the people maybe even some of the pros on here. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Uh, First off, we got Angel. He's a 1 mana 2 power. On paper, he's really cool. He comes onto the board whenever somebody dies, but oftentimes you'll see him come into your hand or just a 1 mana 2 power. It's just not really. It's one energy. I'm probably gonna mistakenly call it mana a lot here, but 1 mana 2 power just doesn't really seem to hit as often as you might expect. It can definitely kind of catch you off guard though. So I think I'm gonna put it into a D tier for now. I could see a lot of stuff changing throughout the video though. Ant-Man, I did watch some videos on it. People saying it's a 1/4. It's pretty good. Once you get the four people, the four cards in one location, but I don't know. In this, why is this A B? In this, from when I played, it wasn't entirely easy to get the four locations, but I think I do agree for your one slot, he's gonna be an S tier 100%. You have Blade. He's a 1/3. Discard a card. I just he's a good he's got good power for his energy, but he just oftentimes he always sort of discards the wrong card. If you can get lucky, maybe hit a Wolverine or something, but in general, he's really not going to be doing what you want to do. And then just the extra power too for the 1 mana. You have other 1 costs that are good. I think he's just a C tier for me. He's just a C tier. Looks like it's going to keep expanding, so I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit. All right. Next, we have Electra here. Electra, in my experience, was a great card. Just 1 mana, 1 drop. You can snipe out somebody's maybe 1 drop if they accidentally stack a location. Even once I hit Infinite, it's sniping out sunspots. That's not really what I'm trying to do as compared to Infinite, but sniping out sunspots, snipe out somebody's Hawkeye or somebody's Rocket Raccoon hit you. Nightcrawler was seeing a lot of play when I played, so Electra's a great card. Really good to snipe. Eggman's obviously a better. Electra I'd put in A tier though for sure. Solid 1 drop. Hawkeye. I agree with a lot of people when they say Hawkeye. He's a 1 mana, 1 power. You have to play a card next turn that gives him 3 extra power. You're sort of locked into a location. He's pretty much one of the first cards you're going to give the boot after you play a few games with Hawkeye. You're definitely going to see yourself upgrading him. Iron Fist. He's a 1 energy 2 power. You move him to the left. For me, I didn't get him until really late, so I didn't really get to experience him. But also in this right now, there's a lot of locations that sort of lock you out. I really think Iron Fist is going to be pretty good. He's a 1 mana 2 drop or a 1 mana 2 power. Oh, I think I might throw him in B for now. He's a solid card. He's good, but I'm gonna bump him up to A. I'm gonna bump him up to A. He's a solid card. He's got some adaptability. You could use him with multi-man. As some locations are pretty like he's really good situational. You're not gonna put him in every deck though. I could easily see that not being the case. Korg, I know he's pretty good for disruption. If you put a rock into somebody's deck and they draw that, that's really not good. However, in Pool 1, in my experience, it didn't really cause that many issues. I put him in B tier. Good 1 mana, good 2 power. He still does do the disruption, but just in general, I didn't experience too much of an issue with the rock. Dino's seen a lot of play, so it's a good card. It's a good card, just not really heavy hitting in this 1 drop. Mantis, I'm gonna go C here. Yeah, I'm gonna go C here. You have to. It's a 1 energy 2 power. You Kind of got to snipe somebody's card to draw a card. Not great. I might even bump it down to D. But drawing somebody's card's pretty good though. So we'll leave it at C, and then Misty Knight will go to F. 1 energy, 2 power. You'll see yourself wanting her very, very few occasions with very few locations. She's not really good. Nightcrawler to me was an S tier in pool 1. Just being able to move him. He gets around a lot of locations. You can kind of outplay some opponents. Just being able to move Nightcrawler. Just a really solid 1 mana or 1 energy, and then right after the first few games of seeing him played, you're gonna immediately see yeah, I'm gonna want Nightcrawler in my 1 slot. Nova, I'm gonna put him in A. Good card. He's not 1. He's a 1/1 now, so he's a little different than this. But you don't really want his power anyway. His power matters. Anyway, you're gonna want to kill Nova. You have Carnage, Deathlock. That's the easy ways to kill him. You can get creative with it. He worked fairly well. He give yourself some good boosts. Even if they snipe him with Electra, it still pops. It's pretty good. He can use it to counter an Electra. I mean, he's a solid card. Definitely somebody you'd consider running in some types of decks, but not all decks. So maybe he's a good card. He's a good card. Quicksilver, D tier. Definitely somebody as you're starting out, somebody you think is good. You immediately realize having Quicksilver in your starting hands is not really that good. I'm gonna bump him down to F. He's pretty immediately one of the first cards you're going to cut as you get better at the game. Rocket Raccoon. I love Rocket Raccoon. I put him in A tier. I got pretty good at being able to snipe people's cards. He kind of ages pretty well as the game goes on. You can snipe easier. I think Rocket Raccoon's a great card. I'm going to put him in A tier. He's definitely in the conversation with some of the top one energies. Squirrel's pretty good. Squirrel's pretty good. I'm going to put her in A tier. I'm going to put her in B tier. I just feel like Electra, Iron Fist. The biggest issue with Squirrel Girl is if you play her too soon, you can mess up some of the locations. Some like the energy location. If you get a squirrel in that location, then it's all of a sudden she can mess you up a little bit if you play her too early. She goes in quite a few decks, so she's pretty good. She's pretty versatile. But if you're tight in that 1 slot, then I could definitely see you cutting her. Vatu, he's an F tier. You're not gonna want Vatu. I ran Vatu a little bit. Didn't even draw him in my opening hands. It just wasn't very useful. It's a horrible time. Vatu's just not very useful. Yondu, great card. Great card. I put him in A tier. You get to burn somebody's card. They get to see the card you burn, but you do burn somebody's card. The Disruption, he would be S tier, but as I was saying earlier, Disruption's not super impactful in pool 1. I mean, you can hit somebody's good cards, but generally they're running more than 1 combo piece or something. So Yondu in A tier, I think, is a great slot for him. Good, not great. Angela's a great card. Easy S tier. I think she's a 0 power now, but great card. She ages well. You have, as I said, all these 1-drops are great. So as you're playing, she's just a really solid 2-drop. She's never really changed too much from that. Armor, I'm going to put him in. I slept on Armor a little bit. I'm going to put him in A tier. And when I played, I didn't play him that much. But Wolverine decks, Deathlock, that Nova kind of synergy does get played a lot. So I'm going to run him in A tier. But I could easily see, when I played him, I didn't really realize his full potential. I didn't really get to play him that much, but he's easily an A tier. He could shut down a lot of people's combos. Which is a fairly popular actual deck in pool 1, which is interesting. People try to make it work, and sometimes it does work. Cable. Cable's a good card. I'm gonna put him at B though. He's not good enough to in the conversation with some of these guys, but he's definitely like in your 2 slot. You get to draw somebody's card without them knowing. He's just a solid. You run him in. He's really great in Dino. Devil Dino is what it's called. So, I mean, can't really go wrong with Cable here. Carnage, I love Carnage. I think I put him in B though. Carnage is good when he works. He can pop off. He can pop a Squirrel Girl. If maybe your Rocket Raccoon doesn't hit, you just swallow Rocket Raccoon. He just goes into. He's, you know, what I mean, he just maintains his power. Mr. Sinister, you could pop Mr. Sinister with it just in case he's clogging up the board. I'd like Carnage. In my opinion, I'm bumping him up to A tier, and just pull 1. Carnage he's just a strong card. Not a lot of people were running armor or anything either, so yeah, he didn't get countered very often. Colossus, probably D tier. In hindsight, he's not very good. He's a 2/3. He loses power. Is rarely good on like 25% of like the occasion when you get those locations. When he does work, it's fun. You feel clever, but he just doesn't work good enough very often. Domino, I put in F. I mean, I never ran her. Whenever I seen her on the board, I wasn't really that pressed. Yeah, I mean, it's just not really much to say about Domino. She's just the same thing as Quicksilver, but yeah, she's not really too great. Forge is interesting. I think I put Forge in C just because Forge, when he works, he can work, but you kind of got to get clever with him. You have to have the right pieces in your hand to really see him work. He kind of works with Multi-Man a little bit, Mr. Sinister. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of these higher cost cards because he costs 2, so it's only going to be 4 below is when you're really going to see him work. And he's a 2/1, which doesn't really feel impactful, especially in that pool 1 scenario. So I just feel like he doesn't combo well enough with like cards in that pool 1. There's just not enough for him, but I can definitely see him aging a little better in pool 2 or 3. Craven, I have a hot take. I love Craven. Just personally, just a little background. I played Craven with Heimdall, and he can get so many triggers off that interaction. But I'm going to try not to be too biased here. I'm just going to throw him. In. He can, especially with that Heimdall interaction, he can sort of snipe a lot of power from like unexpectedly. But just in general, once you get into the higher ranks, he starts to fall off. I'm going to put him in C tier. He's definitely not somebody you're going to be looking to play all the way to like infinite if you're making a pull 1 run. Sorry about that. Lizard is a great card. Is he a 2/5 now? Just 2/4? 2/4 sounds a little low, but I think he's a 2/5 now. I think he reduces by 4 whenever their opponent's field is stacked. A great card. Easy A for me. I mean, you just slot them down. Your opponent's got to use util, or they just have to use cards on that location, or you just pretty much get like a 2-mana 5 power, which is insane. But it's just a solid card. Medusa, I like Medusa. Solid B tier for me. Good card, not great. She's good at what she does. Put her in the middle. 2-mana 4, 2 energy, 4 power. She's good at what she does. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy though. Mr. Sinister, 2-mana, 2 power. He gets a clone of himself for another 2 power. So this can work. He can have some interactions where he can get like a 2 energy, 8 power if you just double up his power a little bit. I think I'm just going to put him at B tier. Also, a solid card to run in pool 1. Just not really great at anything. Just he's pretty good. Just not great. Multiple Man, I'll put in C tier with Craven. He's sort of in that same sort of aspect, like that same theme, where you want to build like a sort of move theme, like move deck with them. But there's just not really enough like sustenance there in pool 1 to really make it work. You can sort of force it a little bit. You can get them going. C tier is fine, but just not enough there. Scarlet Witch is interesting. I'm going to put her B. I'm going to put her B. I could see her being A. If you wanted to argue with me about it, I'd put her A easily. But just in my experience, sometimes she sort of randomizes the locations. It's sort of sometimes she'd backfire, sometimes it hit. It was just kind of good. Not exactly like always the best play though. So yeah, she's a good card, but just not quite hitting for me. Sentinel, I loved Sentinel. I put him in A tier easily. I didn't think he'd be that good. I didn't think he'd age that well, but I was watching some videos. People were saying he still ages well. He's still a great card, which I'm glad to hear. I didn't think that'd be the case. Yeah, Sentinel, you play him, get a copy of him. Just a good, solid card, especially for beginners too. If you're just messing up your mana curve, you don't know really how to build a deck solid. You're just replacing that 2-drop every turn. He can be really good. Shocker is an F tier. He's a 2 energy, 3 power. He's not going to do anything. He has no abilities. He's kind of sort of in this same boat as Misty Knight. Not much to say there. Star Lord, I'll put him in B. I think he was reworked or something. I'm not too sure, but he's a 2 energy, 2 power. You can snipe him for an extra 3 power. I think he goes up to 5, which is pretty good. If you don't predict your opponent, then he's just a 2/2, which isn't great. But whenever he works, he works. He's one of those cards that ages better throughout the game too, so I think B's fine for him. Wolverine's an easy A for me. Easy A. Arguably, maybe even S, but in pool 1, it's not quite that much destruction interaction. You have Carnage, Deathlock, and then you have locations you can get clever with. You can also use them in discard. You can get lucky and just hit them with a discard. Really, I might even bump him up to S. I really like him. He can be used a lot. As I said, he can be used cleverly with locations. It feels good whenever you use him, and he works. I like him. I like Wolverine. I think he's a solid 2 slot. Bishop, he's a 3/1 now. I see this tier list is a lot, dude. He's 3/1 whenever you play a card. He gains, I think, is it just 1 power? I didn't have too much success with Bishop, but I think I just built him wrong because I don't think I mean he's bad. I think he's pretty good. I'm gonna put him in A tier. He's a great card. If you build around him, you're getting a lot of value out of him. You can definitely snipe a location too if somebody's just not paying attention, and you just play a bunch of cards late game. Bishop's great. Cap, I'm gonna say Cap is B. Let's say Cap is B. Oftentimes, if you're playing a lot of these lower cost cards, you're filling up a location, you can play Cap, get him. He's 3/6. So he's a good card. He's not great at what he does, but he's a good card. Cosmo, let's say Cosmo's a B as well. I didn't have too much success with getting like a good Cosmo ability, but I can see his value. Odin sees a lot of play. Odin's a great deck in pool 1. So if you're able to snipe an Odin deck, predict some White Tiger plays, yeah, Cosmos. It just depends on what you're experiencing. Like a lot of people's playing at the time, but yeah, Cosmo's a B tier for sure. Cyclops, I'm gonna say is an F. You pretty much want to put any other 3 slot over Cyclops. Deathlock I like. Deathlock I like in A tier. 3 energy. He's 5 power. Oftentimes by turn 3, if you have him in your hand, you don't have one of those locations are empty. You just slap him down. If you're playing him with armor, play him in armor. Wolverine, smack Wolverine. He's got some versatility, especially in pool 1. It's kind of nice to have. You get clever with some of the locations. Deathlock's he's a cool card with some cool interactions. Doctor Strange, I think he's a 3/3 now. I'd put him in D. I did not like Doctor Strange. I told you I used the move strategy a little bit. He just didn't fit in that. I don't know what he was supposed to fit in pool 1. He moves your highest power card or plural cards if you have more than one at the same power, but I just had trouble getting them to work, and whenever it did, it just felt underwhelming. You want almost anything else in your 3 slot, honestly. Groot's good, not great. He's probably one of the worst of the Guardians. I don't know if he's still a 3/3. If he is 3, then he goes up to, he's a +2. He goes up to 5. He's just not too he's just a little underwhelming. I think some of the other ones are a little better. Some of the cheaper ones. Like whenever you get sniped by him, you're like, okay, it's not really that big of a deal. Hulkbuster's cool. Hulkbuster's cool. I'll put him in B. I could see him running Hulkbuster. I never ran Hulkbuster that much. Whenever somebody played him, it had some impact. I don't hate Hulkbuster here. I don't hate Hulkbuster. If you were to, you can combine them with some cards. You can get clever with them. Play them in. There's a lot of single like card specific locations where you just want one card. You just play Hulkbuster on whatever's there. You almost win that location, guaranteed. It's a great card. Ironheart's good. Ironheart's good. Looks like we might get a little big here. Does she go in? I think Ironheart goes in A. If you're playing a lot of one cost, is pretty popular in the in pool 1. She gives 3 cards, +2 power. It's a lot of power. Odin with the combination with Odin's good. She can get a lot of power, kind of sneakily. So I like Ironheart here. Let me try to move this down just a little bit. Lady Sif. Lady Sif's a good card. You discard knowing what you're going to discard, which is pretty nice in discard styles. Unfortunately, the stuff you want to discard isn't your expensive cards. It's going to be like Wolverine, maybe some of your cheaper stuff later game. This is stuff that you're not going to want. So she never really discarded what she wanted to discard, but she's a solid card nonetheless. This card's not really good in pool 1 though, so I'm gonna put her in C. Yeah, she's just not. She just doesn't quite hit in pool 1. Yeah. Mr. Fantastic, I got to work very well B tier. I've frequently seen maybe he was a little underwhelming in some games, but you throw him down to mid. He's a 3 mana or a 3 energy. What does that be, like 6 power? If you just throw him in mid, you can duplicate him and with some of those locations, get some pretty good interactions. He's an ongoing, so he's got some interaction with Spectrum, Onslaught. He can be kind of sneaky. You can kind of sneak a lot of power in if you happen to have an Onslaught in a location that you want to put Onslaught with somebody else on. He's pretty good, just not great. Morph, I don't like. I have a hot take on. I don't like Morph at all. He worked like 40% of the time. I'd never used him, but when people played him against me, he worked like 40% of the time. Sometimes I'd have a good card. Sometimes I didn't have it. I'll put him at D tier. He's not quite as useless as these guys. Like sometimes he would work. Sometimes I'd have a good card they steal. Sometimes I'd be running. They'd steal my Heimdall that I'd have, and he just wouldn't work. Sometimes they'd steal a Nightcrawler that I just wouldn't have played late game. So it's just, or sometimes they'd get my Iron Man. Like it was just really, just not very consistent as I would like it to be. Punisher I'd put in D. I'd put in C. Not a whole lot of 3-drops are going to be very good here. Punisher is just a little underwhelming. 3 power. He could be. What is he gonna? He'll go up to 6. He's an ongoing, which can help. He'll go up to 6 if somebody stacks their site, but I just don't see. He just wasn't quite as impactful as you would want him to be in those like kind of later ranks in pool 1. So I'm gonna have to give him a C, but definitely as a just beginner, he's pretty good, but he falls off almost quickly. He's definitely one of the first ones you want to cut. Swordmaster's a good card. I'll put Swordmaster in B. Swordmaster in B. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. He's good. I'm gonna put Swordmaster in A. Actually, I lied. I want to put Swordmaster in A. He's got a lot of power. He discards a card. You can hit Wolverine off of it. You can discard something you want. So I mean, but he kind of makes up for it. This 6 power is very good in the 3 slot. He can often just 1 mana location, or just if you end up getting a Shuri's Lav or something, you're putting him down there like almost immediately. You're discarding pretty early, so you can kind of play around whatever you discard. I like Swordmaster, especially in pool 1. Wolfsbane, I'm gonna throw in a. I feel like she's a slept-on card. With Odin, she works with Odin. Just with the on reveal effect location, she's insanely strong. She's almost gonna single-handedly win that location. She just gets a lot of power off of these lower cost cards. Not quite Ness. She's not like a given in your decks, but she's gonna work. She's gonna work frequently. Enchantress, I love Enchantress. I'm gonna put her in A tier. Enchantress is a great card. I didn't run her, but people did run her, and whenever she worked, man, she worked. She almost single-handedly wins games. There's a lot of ongoing cards that are great in pool 1. Devil Dino's a menace in pool 1. Iron Man's super strong card in pool 1. Blue Claw. Enchantress she just plays really well against it. I might even put her in S tier. I kind of wish I ran her more often. I want to put Enchantress in S tier. She's just a really good card. Easily snipe or easily counter people's combos with a lot of these higher mana cards. She's a great card, especially in pool 1. Jessica Jones I like. Jessica Jones is a solid 4-drop. She's 8 power if you don't play on her turn. 4 if you don't, or 4 if you do. I could see Jessica Jones. She was I was running her in almost every single one of my decks, just because if you need somebody in that 4 slot, somebody powerful, somebody that can kind of run a location by herself, Jessica Jones is the go-to. Zoom this out just a little more. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. All right, Khazar. Khazar is a great card. I'm gonna put him in S. You can build decks around Khazar. I think they call it Kazoo. It's a great card. I didn't have too many issues with him, but that doesn't mean he's bad. Yeah, Khazar's a great card. Just gonna build one cost decks around him. I think people just played him poorly, but if you play him right in pool 1, he's a menace. Moon Girl, I'll put her in B tier. Yeah, duplicating your hands, it's very good. You're mainly gonna see in Devil Dino, and if you see it in Devil Dino, it's you can retreat pretty early if you see it, or if I really can't recall her being too useful outside of like Devil Dino. So I mean, she's good. She's just not too great. Devil Dino is definitely one of the best decks which you'd run her in, which makes her good, but just not quite. I'm gonna do a hot take here. I love Namor. I want to put him in A. I could see him being lower. If you wanted to argue with me, I'd give you Namor, but he's Namor. If he's the only card, he gets like plus, is it 5 or 6? I think he's a 4/11 if he's the only card, so it'd be plus 6. You just throw him down, and he's just single-handedly controlling a location. Your opponent has to play cards on that location to win it, or they just got to use a lot of resources to play around your one card, which I think is a great attribute, especially in pool 1. Yeah, Namor's a menace. Strong Guy's good. Strong Guy's good. I'm gonna put him at B tier though, unfortunately. Sometimes it can be hard in this lower, like this pool 1, to really discard your hand. You have Lady Sif, Swordmaster. You have options, but a Blade. But sometimes it can be tough, and if he doesn't hit, you expect him to come through, and then you sort of mess it up or blunder your hand size, and then he's just a 4/4, which is just not good. Thing is probably D. He's gonna be one of those first cards you cut. I really like Thing. I wanted to make him work. He just didn't work as much as I wanted him to work. So for that, I'm gonna have to put him in D. He's gonna be one of the first ones you cut. You're gonna run Jessica Jones. As I said, Namor's better. There's just so many good 4-drops or 4 energy slots that it's hard to have the Thing contest that. White Queen I like. I love White Queen. I'm gonna put her in A. She's a 4/6, great stats. You get to see your opponent's highest cost card, which is generally going to be their combo piece. So if they're running Heimdall, uh, if they have a Hulk on deck, which is a 6/12, if they're running Odin and on 6/7 onslaught, Spectrum, if they have Blue Marvel. The point is, you're going to see what they're running for White Queen, and you can sort of play around that. And yeah, if you play White Queen, you think you can play around their highest cost, you also get it too. So if it's like an Iron Man, yeah, that's an easy snap if you think you can play around it. Abomination's good, just not great. He's a 5/9 now. I'm gonna throw him in C. 5 energy, 9 power. He can run a location, but generally on your 5 slot's gonna be kind of stacked. So you're gonna want to run somebody else other than Abomination. Blue Marvel, great card. He'll go in Kazoo. I'll move this up just a little bit. It's 5 energy, 3 power. It gives the rest of your cards 1 power. Especially in that pool 1, he's gonna be hitting pretty hard. If you're not paying attention, Blue Marvel can definitely win games single-handedly. He's a great card, especially in pool 1. Devil Dino is an easy S tier. The Devil Dino decks in pool 1 are a menace. I don't know if Devil Dino should be nerfed, sorry, but he's easily one of the strongest decks in pool 1. As I think I started playing him and got to Infinite almost a little easily. You're gonna play him, Moon Girl. Yeah, Moon Girl turn 4, Devil Dino turn 5, and then another Devil Dino turn 6. It's just insane. It's just a almost guaranteed win. Obviously, he's not broken. They can play Enchantress. They can sort of play around it. But you're winning more often than not with a Devil Dino deck. Gamora, I like Gamora. I'll put her in B. The 5 slot's a little stacked, so it's hard for me to put Gamora higher. But she is a good card. You snipe somebody out. Is it just 5 power? She ends up being a 5/12. 5/7 base stats, which is also pretty good. She gets a lot easier to snipe later in the game. She's a good card, but just not quite. As I said, like a lot of these 5 slots are kind of hitting hard, so Gamora's just going to be in the B slot. Iron Man, great card, S tier easily. Doubles your power on a site. It's an ongoing, works with Spectrum. He's a great card. He's gonna be what you're running for a lot, for almost all of pool 1. He's gonna go in almost any deck. Easy S tier for Iron Man. Claw, I think, is a great card. He's 4 power in one, 6 in the other, so he's pretty much a 5 energy, 10 power. He is a great card. He's gonna work a lot. They're not gonna see him very often. It's an ongoing, which has some synergy with some of these decks we've been talking about. Marin's a great card. He's a menace in pool 1 as well. He can sort of stack a location, and if your opponent thinks they're winning that location, you can sort of slap a Claw down and win it out. There's just a lot of ways you can sort of play the game with Claw, and he's just a menace in pool 1. Professor X, D tier. He can be used. He can be useful. He's just, as I'm saying a little bit, this 5 energy slot's kind of stacked. It's going to be kind of tough to compete with this 5 energy. There's just so many more you can do at 5 energy. He's hard to compete with. Spider-Woman, she's a 5/8 now. I ran her a lot. I'm going to put her in A tier. A lot of these, I'm just going to keep it consistent with chronological. Spider-Woman, a lot of people, as I mentioned, are running these Khazar decks. You can pretty easily put her down on a location with 4 enemies or 4 cards and just hit all of them. She's an on reveal, which works with Odin. Works with some other, like the location. She's a 5/8 too, which is really good stats. Yeah, she can almost single-handedly win a location, or she can even be a turn 6 play. It's a pretty good card. White Tiger, also an A tier. She works very well. Sort of in that late game, like that turn 5, turn 6. She works really good with Odin. Obviously, that's where you're going to see her a lot. You put her down, maybe have one of your other locations stacked. You know where the Tiger's going. It's 7 power. Yeah, she's a great card. Great card. She can single-handedly win games. She's often single-handedly won games against me, so she's a great card. America Chavez, she's a 6'9". She's not a 6'10". Start at the bottom of your deck. You draw her turn 6. I wasn't a fan of her. I felt like when I drew her turn 6, I just wasn't quite what I wanted. I just wanted another card instead of America, but I do realize she's a great card. I'll put her in A tier, but I didn't really get her to work. She can get sniped out with Cable. She can kind of counter that Cable, which makes her a little better. If you don't actually want to draw her, you just want to make the deck consistent. She's a good card, just not quite a given. Apocalypse, in pool 1 specifically. This is gonna hurt me, but I'd have to put him in D tier. For Apocalypse in pool 1, he just doesn't work. I feel like there's a lot that has to go right for him to work. You have to discard him intentionally. So you'd have to have him in your opening hand by turn 2 or 3. Whenever you start discarding, it's got to be him. He comes back in your hand. Your opponent sees what's getting discarded. They know you're turn 6 now. There's just a lot going on here. In pool 1, he just doesn't really work. A lot of these other decks are going to be stronger than him. Heimdall, I like Heimdall. I know I'm biased. I'd put him in A tier just because he can sort of outplay your opponents quite a bit. And he can definitely play really well into like a late game, just sort of outplay kind of strategy. But with some of just the move synergy in pool 1's pretty weak. So he's really good with Craven. Multiman just doesn't really work how you'd expect him to work with Heimdall. I like the card, but he's just a B tier. Hulk 6'12". He's a B tier if I've ever heard of one. He's a good card, good turn 6, just not great. Just a pretty good card, just nothing great. Owns A tier. It's pretty. If you're playing a smart enough opponent, it's pretty easy to see what kind of deck you have. You're playing a lot of on reveal stuff. By the time you get to turn 6, you're gonna have. I mean, it doesn't make him weak. He's still an A tier, but you're gonna have White Tiger out already, and you're gonna have a lot of stuff out, so you can sort of retreat if you need to once you start seeing some of these. And you can see you're gonna lose. He's a great card, great deck. He'll get you far. He'll probably take you to infinite. Just not quite as powerful as this Devil Dino Khazar. I lied. I'm gonna put him S tier. I could definitely see him being as powerful as Khazar and Devil Dino. Yeah, he's gonna get quite a bit of wins in this pool 1 if you have a good build around him. With the White Tiger combo, it's just brutal, game ending. He can get a lot of power. He's 6'8" by default. He can get a lot of power down on one location. With the White Tiger, start stacking other locations. He's just a brutal card. Onslaught. I like Onslaught. He's just not very heavy hitting. I'd put him in B tier. He's at that 6 drop. He's a 6'7", by the way. He doubles oncoming. He's good with Claw. He's good with a lot of these other ongoing effects, but sort of on my turn 6, I like to try to set up a third location. If I'm running Devil Dino, I don't really want to onslaught a Devil Dino. Devil Dino's already winning a location by himself. Same with Iron Man. Yeah. He just doesn't quite work in pool 1 how you might want him to work, but he's a good card. Finally, we have Spectrum. 40-minute video. +2 power to each ongoing card. She's good. She's good, actually. You'd be surprised at how good she is. +2 power is quite a bit. She could definitely get a lot of power onto the board pretty sneakily. You sort of got to play around her if somebody's running a lot of ongoing, which is unfortunate. It makes her pretty good. I might bump her down to B tier just because I think that Spectrum, her base power is just a little low. She's just not quite as hard hitting as some of these other A tier cards. She can get a lot of power on board, but She's not quite with some of these other 6 drops as well. Her deck's not going to be as heavy hitting. Yeah. So this is I think this is all I got. Oh, I'm not too sure if Kitty Pryde is in pool 1 right now. If she is, I think she's an easy S tier, but I'm not too sure if everybody gets her or not. If she is, she's an S tier. You just play her turn 1, get 2 power back. Great card. Um, yeah, she's a solid 1-drop. I know this 1 slot's kind of stacked, but you could easily kind of slot her in there. She's beats out quite a bit. Yeah, S tier easily. Yeah, so this is gonna be my tier list. I just wanted to make something maybe for any new beginners. I just felt like I had a fairly good understanding of pool 1 after I played for a little bit, so that's kind of where I was at. I'm just trying to look and see if there's anything I changed, but I think this is an okay tier list. Yeah, if anybody disagrees with me, I'm sure you will. I'd be glad to know what you have to think. Okay, cool. Thanks. See you guys.